Okay, we're getting ready to assemble up these shovel heads. This is the one that dropped the valve. Intake valve head fell off. So this is only painted all over. So it looks like we have to do the valve job on it. Fixed all the other problems. Put new valves and guides in it. This time we put the good quality stuff in there, not the cheap crap. So we got different setup of parts. So this head over here is the other one. This is the one that didn't drop. Went ahead and put good parts in this one too. So I do a lot of valve guide, or a lot of valve heights changing around. So here's our setup we're going to use now. We wound up having 4 valve shims in there because these heads are sunk so far. These have got big valves in there and they're all sunk down there pretty deep. So instead of running the heavily offset collar and running 4 valve shims under it, I decided to go with a stock upper collar, which has a big difference in height, installed height. And that knocked away all of the shims on the exhaust valves. And we wound up running a 30 thou on the rear intake and a 15 on the front intake. And the reason we do that is because the drop valve had a couple of nicks there in the seat that we had to clean up lightly. They weren't very deep, but we had to clean them up slightly. So these valves here are just slightly higher than this set over here. About 15-20 thou difference. Nothing really to worry about. It just head really looks like crap with all the peening in it. So that's the difference on that. So now we're just going to go ahead and assemble these up. And like I said, you have to get all this stuff figured out before you do it. All your seal clearance and stuff like that. So this is set up for a 1/2-inch lift motor. So once you go ahead and hold that, I'm going to go do some filming or work. So we'll get our sleeve retainer Loctite. Okay, get on the other side. So that's going to help hold the valve seals on. It also helps seal up any minor voids that might come in after you beat them on. Where's those old seals at? Okay, now instead of using the old valve seals here, which are the ones that comes in James gasket sets, but these are really tall and hard to get clearances in them, I had to go with the short one here to get the clearances, because once I got away from this big collar and had everything jacked way up, I had to go to this seal to get clearances because I moved everything got moved down tighter. So we wound up using this regular old style seal, which I like. I prefer these better anyway. So these things are big and tall, they look nice, they should work a lot better because they're better materials and everything, but in the real world they're too damn tall to use anything over a stock lift cam. So I don't work on stock motors, so we rarely use those. So junk. Did I lose it? So make sure you don't get none of this Loctite on the inside of the guide bore. So I'm putting on the outside of the guide, not the inside there. Stay away from the top of the guide. Before you put together, always wipe off the top of the guide if there's anything on it. If you see anything in the guide bore, you better get it out. Otherwise the valve will stick in the guide, which is not a good thing. I don't put that up for that reason. Okay, so now we got these laid out as front to rear. So parts out. So this is the rear head. So I'm going to start with the rear valve. We spent about an hour or so at least playing around with different component mixes to get what we want here. It's all time and stuff you guys don't see, but if you're doing a hot rod motor, you gotta Get all this stuff figured out. Otherwise, as soon as you start it up, you will not like the results. See that happen a lot. Can't big high lift cams in these motors without having clearances. And nobody wants to take their heads off to make sure stuff clears. So they wind up taking them apart and fixing them after they break them. Okay, so we got assembly lube on those. Okay, now we're back on the front head. So we use the front head parts. So that's your collar. You have to put the seal in first on the shovel and all your pre-evo motors. That goes on there. And we got the intake one over here. Now to get the seal on without having a fancy sleeve, which I don't like, you just kind of rock the seal back and forth a little bit. And it pokes through. You go through the first one, now you're on the lower edge. Same thing, rotate it. Just rock it a little bit and it goes right on over. And my seal driver I made up. You can also use the plastic ones. Don't keep hitting it after it stops moving. All that does is break the seal. So once it's in there, you spin them, see if they'll move. If they don't move, they're good and tight, you're good. Valves come up. One's ready to have the stuff put in it. I'll do the other head. Now we're on the rear head. So this is the intake. I screwed up already. See, I made a mistake. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong?
I wasn't paying attention to what you...
You weren't paying attention. Oh, me either.
What did you do wrong?
It looked like I did wrong. What's sitting on the bench? It should be on the head already. What's over there in the pile that should already be installed?
Oh, the shim.
Yep. What that means, don't you? Need to get the right off the seal. Make sure the broken piece is not on the spring.
You just bought a valve seal. Two.
No.
Was there a shim on each one or just one?
Just on the intakes. See? The only shim there is that one. I tell you how to do it, and I do it wrong. Pretty good, huh? That goes on there. Then that.
Wrap the shim.
Don't forget the valve. What was I hitting on? Felt something. Whatever it was is gone now. I felt something like a lip on the top, but it's gone. Now, if you try to reuse that, on this one here, you might actually be able to reuse it. See, it didn't destroy the lip. I lucked out. Customer probably wouldn't like it though. The biggest problem is it's already been stretched once. It'll probably be loose if you put it on again. That's why you keep extra seals on hand. Good deal. Alright, so now you see how not to do it. Alright. Which head are we on?
Front.
Front intake. Front intake. And we had to match the springs for installed heights reasons too. Was there 10 thou variants on 3 of them? The other one's 10 more?
886. Two were 886. One was 896. One was 893. One was 896, one was 886, and one was 888.
So it's 10 thou spread for all four. So we had to rearrange in the correct order to gain the clearances we want. Make sure the screws are in there correctly. Preferably you don't go like that and look at it. It might hit you in the head.
If they hit you in the face, that means they weren't incorrect.
That's correct. And when they go like that and hit off the bench and come back and hit you, they still hurt. Just because they bounced off something doesn't mean they didn't lose much energy. When they hit you in the finger on the way out, it hurts your finger too. I've had that done a couple times. Especially when you got them nice big heavy duty racing springs. Those really hurt when they hit you. Okay, so they look like they're in there. So always touch them with a screwdriver just to make sure at each one. Get right in the middle of the keeper, one at a time. Same deal, it's best not to stand in front of it. So that'll get everything shocked into where it belongs. So there's the one all assembled up. Good to go. You can also go in and check your install height to see what you got. Sometimes they change because they take up a bunch of clearance. We appear to be about 450. We were at 440 before. So looks like we picked up about 10 thou on the with the full tension on it. I was using just the inner spring when I mocked them up. Now this one here is the one that was real tight. We only got like 410. 415 on that, probably 415. And we got an extra, what, 10 thou on the key on that. Makes us 425, and we needed 430. But I had 50 thou extra clearance built in, so we're still good by 45. But I'm not going to sink the valve deeper to get that extra 15, so screw it. Got a little extra valve spring tension on that one. Okay. Plus after you run the bike a little bit, the valves will probably sink an extra 10 as the seats and stuff wear in. But you can't always count on that. You have a lot more tension in these than when we took them out. These are packed in a lot tighter than they were. That might also be a reason why that valve dropped. It might have been floating the valve when the customer's revving the shit out of the motor. Good. So you got the exhaust is left, you got the exhaust here. That means you assembled them in the right order. That always helps. Quite just enough room. Turn. Let gravity help you on assembly. At that point they stay in. Yep. Okay. Check for clearances again. About 825 or so. A little bit snugger than I thought it would be. Should have been like 35. We're in a shadow. And that one's about 830 or so. So they're packed in pretty good. Alright, so this is good for high RPM. Should be good to 7,500 RPM. Be plenty adequate for a shovel. Anyway, good to go. We'll get back to the customer and see if we can go blow them up again. So there you go.